The perpetually chaotic mountain town of South Park once again serves as a microcosm of American absurdity in Season 28, Episode 4, Turkey Trot. This Thanksgiving-themed episode cleverly intertwines two storylines. One centered on the town's annual holiday race and its controversial corporate sponsorship, and another fueled by federal overreaction rooted in paranoid conspiracy. With sharp satire, the episode takes aim at modern issues like sports washing, racial stereotyping, and the performance-driven nature of contemporary politics, all delivered in South Park's signature mix of crude humor and incisive commentary. The central catalyst of the episode is the town's preparation for its annual Turkey Trot, a beloved Thanksgiving foot race. The event takes an unexpected turn when it secures a lucrative sponsorship from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The deal is straightforward. The winner receives a $5,000 prize. But there's a catch. No participant may utter any criticism of the Saudi royal family. This instantly plunges South Park into a moral and comedic dilemma. The townspeople, famously lacking filters and diplomatic tact, must navigate the delicate balance between financial temptation and freedom of expression. This sponsorship is a sharp parody of sports washing, a real-world phenomenon in which nations with controversial human rights records invest heavily in sporting events to polish their global image. The episode highlights how easily a small local tradition can be co-opted by wealth, revealing the townspeople's readiness to compromise principles for cash. The looming fear that someone, almost certainly a main character, will blurt out a forbidden remark keeps tensions simmering throughout the plot. Eric Cartman, ever the opportunist, immediately sets his sights on the $5,000 prize and begins assembling what he believes will be a winning team. His strategy, however, is rooted in the most offensive and debunked pseudoscience imaginable. When he discovers that Tolken Black is a skilled runner, Cartman refuses to acknowledge training or talent. Instead, he launches a cringe-worthy lecture on race science, claiming Tolken's ability is genetically predetermined because he is black. This puts Tolken, one of South Park's most grounded and intelligent characters, in an incredibly uncomfortable position. He is caught between his moral objection to the Saudi-sponsored event and the frustration of being reduced to a racial stereotype. Tolken explicitly refuses to participate, citing Saudi Arabia's human rights record. In typical Cartman fashion, he tries to justify his greed by arguing that accepting money from Saudi Arabia for a sports event is morally superior to other uses of the regime's funds. This storyline brilliantly satirizes the persistence of racial stereotyping and the burden it imposes on those forced to confront it. Meanwhile, a parallel storyline spirals into absurdity. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegsth, portrayed as a glory-seeking, social media-obsessed egomaniac, storms the South Park police station to secure the release of Peter Thiel, a minor character held on a trivial trespassing charge. After being thrown out by Officer Yates, Hegsth's bruised ego seeks a new target. Spotting social media posts about the Turkey Trot, he misinterprets the colorful gathering as an Antifa uprising. Seizing his moment of glory, he mobilizes a massive military response to quell what is, in reality, a community fun run. His self-aggrandizing actions are underscored by a parody of the Danger Zone soundtrack, now featuring lyrics labeling him as a douche, a sentiment echoed in a phone call from a former president. As the race unfolds, the two storylines collide spectacularly. Tolken, despite his objections, is coerced into competing by Cartman's relentless provocations. Simultaneously, Hegsth's military force descends upon the racecourse, mistaking runners for insurgents. Amid the chaos, Tolken's athleticism shines through, and he inadvertently wins the race, navigating through absurd military intervention to cross the finish line. The ending delivers biting irony. Tolken, who never wanted the Saudi money or to validate Cartman's racist theories, is left with the $5,000 prize. Conflicted and unhappy, his victory feels less like triumph than capitulation. Secretary Hegsth, meanwhile, suffers utter humiliation. His misjudgment leads to arrest, leaving him imprisoned alongside Peter Thiel, a prisoner of his own incompetence and paranoia. Turkey Trot excels as multifaceted satire, lampooning international sports washing, the burden of racial stereotyping, and the dangerous mix of ignorance and militarism in modern politics. Dedicated fans will also catch clever continuity nods, including a cameo from Kristi Noem, who once again shoots a dog, and a brief appearance by Ned, still haunted by his past encounter with Man-Bear-Pig. Through layered storytelling and fearless humor, the episode reinforces South Park's enduring relevance, proving that even a simple turkey race can reveal profound truths about the absurdities of contemporary society. As the turkey trot inches closer, the tension between Cartman and Tolken escalates into a central force that propels the episode's narrative forward. Cartman, driven by an almost pathological greed, begins assembling his so-called winning team, yet his methodology is as offensive as it is absurd. In classic South Park fashion, he refuses to acknowledge the value of skill, strategy, or practice. Instead, he becomes fixated on pseudoscientific theories about race, claiming that Tolkien's talent is predetermined by his ethnicity. This obsession is both cringe-inducing and darkly humorous, serving as a lens through which the episode skewers enduring societal misconceptions about race, merit, and intelligence. Cartman's relentless pursuit of validation for his flawed logic forces Tolken into an almost unbearable position. Tolken, one of the series' most grounded and morally centered characters, is forced to confront a series of ethical dilemmas that test his patience, his principles, and his very sense of self. He explicitly rejects the Saudi sponsorship on moral grounds, pointing out the regime's troubling human rights record and the irony of being coerced into supporting it. Yet, Cartman's manipulative tactics push him toward participation despite his objections, creating a tension-filled narrative that grips viewers from start to finish. The episode cleverly balances humor with commentary, illustrating how individuals can be pressured into situations that conflict with their core values, all while highlighting the absurd lengths to which others will go to justify greed or selfish ambition. Cartman's arguments, rooted in warped logic, reach peak absurdity when he attempts to rationalize the morally questionable sponsorship. He argues that accepting money from a controversial regime for a race somehow counts as a morally superior act compared to other forms of complicity, a demonstration of his signature skill in twisting reality to serve his own interests. The comedy here is razor-sharp, but beneath the laughter lies a potent critique of real-world behaviors. In many ways, the turkey trot serves as a mirror for society, exposing how easily ethical principles are bent or abandoned when financial incentives loom large. Tolkien's struggle is equally compelling. The constant pressure from Cartman, combined with the moral complexities of the situation, creates an ongoing thread of suspense. Will he stand firm in his principles, or will he succumb to external pressures? This tension drives the episode's momentum and ensures that viewers remain deeply invested in the outcome. Parallel to this interpersonal conflict, the townspeople of South Park react to the Saudi sponsorship in ways that amplify the absurdity. Their responses range from blind enthusiasm to moral confusion, reflecting a larger commentary on human behavior under the influence of money and prestige. The episode doesn't shy away from showing the contradictions inherent in society. The citizens' willingness to participate in and support the event, despite its questionable ethics, mirrors real-world instances where profit often trumps principle. This creates a layered narrative, where humor is not only derived from Cartman's antics, but also from the broader societal satire. Adding another layer of tension is the subtle fear that someone, inevitably, will cross the line and insult the Saudi royal family, triggering public outrage or personal consequences. The episode uses this fear to craft moments of suspense, allowing viewers to anticipate conflicts and laugh at the absurdity of the stakes. The suspense is heightened because the audience knows Cartman is capable of crossing any ethical boundary to achieve his goal, while Tolkien's steadfastness makes each interaction between the two characters unpredictable. Will Tolkien manage to avoid compromising his values, or will Cartman's manipulative strategies ultimately force him into participation? The episode masterfully maintains this balance, keeping viewers both amused and on edge. Beyond the personal conflict, the Turkey Trot sponsorship serves as a narrative device to explore broader themes. It critiques not only racial stereotyping and greed, but also the vulnerability of small communities to global influences and power dynamics. South Park, in its typical style, transforms a simple, wholesome event into a battleground of ethics, satire, and comedy. The episode reveals the complexities of human behavior in exaggerated but recognizable ways, making the absurdity resonate. Every interaction, every debate, and every plan by Cartman is loaded with tension, humor, and moral commentary, ensuring the audience remains hooked and deeply engaged. As the first signs of chaos begin to unfold, viewers are left with a sense of anticipation. Tolkien's moral stance, Cartman's relentless schemes, and the town's naive engagement with the sponsorship collectively set the stage for a spectacular collision of humor, ethics, and absurdity in the upcoming segments. The episode's brilliance lies in its ability to weave multiple threads of satire seamlessly, allowing each storyline to escalate naturally while keeping the audience invested in the outcome. South Park doesn't merely aim for laughs here. It crafts a suspenseful narrative where principles, prejudice, and greed are constantly in conflict, ensuring that the turkey trot is no ordinary Thanksgiving race. It's a chaotic reflection of society itself. While the turkey trot's local drama reaches a boiling point, South Park's second storyline introduces an equally absurd yet terrifyingly recognizable figure, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegsth. Hyper-aggressive, glory-seeking, and consumed by his obsession with public recognition, Hegsth is the perfect embodiment of bureaucratic incompetence, amplified by ego. His entry into the episode instantly raises the stakes and expands the satire beyond the confines of a small-town race. Hegsth arrives at the South Park police station with a mission that is both ludicrous and self-serving: to secure the release of Peter Thiel, a character whose importance seems inflated by prior administrative connections, now languishing under a minor trespassing charge. The absurdity of his purpose is compounded by his reaction when thrown out of the station by the unflappable Officer Yates. Bruised in both ego and pride, Hegsth's mind rapidly shifts to another target, the turkey trot. Scanning social media for signs of unrest, he misinterprets a festive gathering of townspeople in brightly colored running attire as a potential Antifa uprising. In true South Park fashion, this misunderstanding sets the stage for a spectacularly overblown response. Hegsth mobilizes a massive military force, ready to intervene in what is, in reality, a harmless community event. The episode expertly satirizes real-world tendencies of overreach and paranoia in political figures, portraying Hegsth's actions as both ridiculous and alarmingly plausible. His obsession with heroism, recognition, and doing something big drives the suspense, as viewers anticipate the collision between his militaristic overreaction and the unfolding turkey trot chaos. The brilliance of this plotline lies in its dual function. It provides comedic spectacle while simultaneously holding a mirror to society's infatuation with power, fear, and performative politics. Hegsth's mobilization of the military is scored to a parody of a high-octane theme song, juxtaposing the gravity of war machinery with the sheer absurdity of a Thanksgiving race. This satirical choice amplifies the humor while reinforcing the episode's critique of ego-driven decision-making in positions of power. The audience is left on edge, wondering how the seemingly unrelated threads of a local race and political overreach will collide, all while laughing at the sheer audacity of the situation. Meanwhile, the townspeople and key characters remain blissfully unaware of the impending chaos. Their focus is still on the moral and personal dilemmas of the race, providing a sharp contrast to Hegsth's exaggerated militarism. This narrative juxtaposition heightens suspense. The viewers understand the danger looming over the turkey trot, while the characters remain focused on their smaller, more human conflicts. It's a masterful example of dramatic irony, where tension is built not through immediate action, but through the anticipation of collision between two wildly different storylines. Tolken, still grappling with Cartman's relentless badgering, is unknowingly on a collision course with Hegsth's forces. Every step he takes toward the finish line is laden with ethical, physical, and now existential risk. The audience is left holding their breath, caught between the hilarity of Cartman's antics and the escalating threat posed by Hegsth's misunderstanding of reality. South Park thrives in this space, blending suspense and comedy seamlessly to create a narrative that is both thrilling and intellectually engaging. Additionally, Hegsth's behavior exposes the absurdity of modern politics and media-fueled paranoia. His misinterpretation of social media posts, combined with his disproportionate response, mirrors contemporary anxieties around misinformation, overreaction, and performative displays of authority. The episode's satire is sharp. It criticizes not only the individual character's incompetence, but also a systemic tendency to inflate minor incidents into major crises, often with disastrous consequences. By interweaving this storyline with the turkey trot, the episode magnifies the absurdity of both narratives, ensuring that every twist, turn, and escalation keeps viewers on the edge of their seats. As the military forces approach the race, the stakes are at an all-time high. The simple joy of a community Thanksgiving event is overshadowed by global politics, racial tension, and personal ambition. Each character, from Tolken to Cartman to the oblivious townspeople, navigates their own web of conflicts, unaware of the storm about to engulf them. The narrative tension is masterful, combining social commentary, character-driven humor, and suspense in a way that keeps audiences both laughing and invested in the outcome. South Park in Turkey Trot demonstrates its signature ability to turn the ordinary into extraordinary, where a humble race becomes the stage for exploring greed, ethics, paranoia, and the consequences of unchecked authority. By the end of this section, viewers are primed for the inevitable collision. A town obsessed with a cash prize, a morally conscious protagonist pushed to his limits, a scheming antagonist exploiting every loophole, and a politically unhinged figure ready to deploy extreme measures. The stage is perfectly set for chaos, comedy, and social commentary to converge, promising an explosive sequence of events that will define the episode's climax and resolution. As the day of the turkey trot arrives, the tension that has been simmering throughout the episode reaches a fever pitch. The town, still caught between excitement over the prize and moral unease, gathers at the starting line, unaware that their annual race is about to spiral into unprecedented chaos. Tolken, reluctantly forced into participation by Cartman's relentless manipulation, carries the weight of ethical conflict with every step. The audience feels the suspense in each stride he takes, knowing that his victory, if it comes, will not be a simple triumph of skill but a complicated, morally ambiguous moment. Cartman, on the other hand, is buzzing with manic energy, determined to control the race outcome through his twisted strategies, oblivious to the larger disaster about to unfold. His scheming amplifies the comedic tension, making every interaction with Tolken and the other runners simultaneously absurd and suspenseful. Into this seemingly controlled chaos enters Secretary Hegsth, whose militaristic overreach is about to collide spectacularly with the turkey trot. His forces descend upon the racecourse, mistaking the runners for insurgents, and immediately transform a community fun run into a high-stakes battlefield. The absurdity of this military intervention is heightened by the sheer disconnect between cause and effect. Townspeople in festive running attire suddenly face a full-scale government response. The audience is caught between laughter and suspense, fully aware of the disparity between perceived threat and actual threat, which is a classic example of South Park's genius in mixing satire with narrative tension. Every military maneuver, every over-the-top tactical decision by Hegsth builds toward an inevitable explosion of chaos that threatens to engulf everyone involved. The collision of storylines is intensified by the interplay between character motivations. Tolken's personal ethics, Cartman's greed, and Hegsth's ego-driven paranoia intersect in ways that make each moment unpredictable. Tolken, despite his objections, finds himself navigating through military barricades and confused soldiers while striving to maintain the integrity of his own moral stance. The suspense is palpable. Every turn of the race could lead to his downfall. Every misstep by Hegsth could escalate the situation further, and Cartman's manipulations continually threaten to derail both Tolken and the integrity of the race itself. South Park thrives in these moments, blending high-stakes comedy with social commentary, showing how personal ambition, ethical compromise, and bureaucratic incompetence can create disaster when they collide.